Hey guys, Mike here with Replicons. Happy Monday. It is March 28th, 2022, and we've got liftoff. Very happy. It actually happened last night while I was online with my altcoin mastermind group. And we were kind of musing about where this would go. We were actually still down here somewhere, I think around 44,700 plus minus. And it looked like we might be running out of fuel here and maybe even correct down a little bit further. So I was outlining a few scenarios at that time. And then strangely enough, things just took off like a rocket and just took off. And this completely changed the ball game. And I had to then follow up again and say, okay, the scenarios just have completely changed because we just crossed a very important inflection point. And that inflection point obviously was the 45,000 level on Bitcoin USD. So it's been 3 months. We were 3 months trapped into this sideways range, right? I mean, which started to form, well, it was a sideways range, but it also was kind of a flag, right? A triangle. And based on the formation, it was fairly clear. I wouldn't like say guaranteed, of course, right? But it looked like to me, especially once we start breach, further high, a little bit further up here from the 43,000 mark, around this cluster here, and we kind of detached from the center, which of this whole formation here, we're around 40,000 plus minus one. And as we kind of rose up here, it was fairly clear to me this would probably resolve to the upside, and it has. Nobody has a crystal ball, but the odds were just based on the formation here, the odds were pretty high. And here we are, right? Now we're trading at 47,500 and change. And what you guys need to appreciate is that, of course, and I think maybe look inside of you, I don't know, this is going to be a public post. And I'm sure that many of you have either, if you had to make decisions. If you follow crypto, you had to decide, what do I do down here? If you were hodling, maybe you just were hodling through. If you're not really heavily into crypto yet, you were maybe considering to buy down here. Maybe you did buy. If you did buy down here somewhere, like many of my subs did, then you're in pretty good shape right now. If not, then, and I think that's actually the vast majority of people who are just kind of watching it, and the prevailing sentiment throughout all this here was one of fear, uncertainty, and doubt, a lot of FUD. And, a lot of reasons why not to invest in crypto, and why crypto is once again dead. Not having learned the lessons, from before, that we've had to learn many, many times before, right? If you go all the way and you're looking at the long-term picture. And that's really the chart I'm kind of producing here, right? It's a log chart, admittedly. In in linear view, it looks like this. But the actual experience, what you go through when you actually, as an investor, is much better represented by a log chart. And this is the trajectory here, right? It's up. That's a long-term trend. That's a secular bull market. That's what it is. And we're absolutely clearly in a secular bull market. We have been for the last decade. So the decisions made down here, of course, right? Well, let me put it another way. People made decisions down here. They either held, if they were holding already, or they purchased, they accumulated, like the whales did, by the way, or, well, they kind of waited for maybe, I don't know, the second coming, right? And of course, now the psychology has changed, and that's kind of what I was trying to work my way up to, because it's really crucial. Before it was FUD, now it's FOMO, because now looking at this. Now that, especially starting after this candle here, it was very clear. And then boom, right? A lot of people still expected this. And I did too. I said, there's a chance that it breaks out. Most likely, by the way, it will recover. It will actually retrace here. I made that point to my group last night, my altcoin mastermind. And of course, they're not too happy to hear that. But the ugly truth, and I'm always very blatant about these things because trying to pretend doesn't really help us as traders, right? That's the highest probability, in my opinion, is something along the lines of this, and then this. Oh, it's drawing actually a shape now. I don't know what's doing that. Sorry about that. And then, something like this. So I don't know what it just did. Let me try this again. Apologize. The drawing tools here make no sense to me. Way too fancy. Like this, and maybe something like this. That's kind of what I see happening here. Are we gonna get a retest like this guaranteed? Not sure. Maybe we get something like this, or maybe we don't get it at all. But I think it's a fairly good chance that we're going to retest one more time. Normally, these things just don't move just in a unidirectional. These breakouts, they come and take a lot of people by surprise. I think it's $100 million worth of shorts got cleared out with that one candle last night, by the way. So that's quite a lot of short positions. And that's the lesson you learn when you're a leverage trader. Don't be a leverage trader. Okay, just buy crypto. Don't get into leverage. Bad idea. Many reasons, and because these things happen. They happen in crypto markets all the time. Anyway, happen in all markets all the time, but especially happen in crypto markets, and happen very, very much in altcoins. So this is a possible scenario. Yeah, maybe we're lucky and we just continue higher from here. But I'm always kind of hedging my bullish exuberance here a little bit. So let's just be cautious. But this is definitely a bullish sign. So just the fact that I anticipate a retrace of this doesn't mean we're going bearish again. This is a natural type of price action that I've perceived, many times over. And it's actually positive because a retest usually kind of solidifies the previous range, and establishes it as support. If we're actually going straight up from here and we don't stop, it actually, it's short-term great for everyone involved, if you're holding Bitcoin or Ethereum, it's moving similarly, and we're going to look at that in a second. But it weakens the case further on the line. If there's weakness, there's nothing to hold on to, right, on the way down. So we actually want that. As nerve-wracking as it may sound, we do want a little bit more drama here. We want more, we want a little retest, like the one I just drew here, okay? So that's part of a healthy retracement. That's what we call it, a retracement. And then takes off, uses it as a springboard, and then continues higher. That's what we want to see. So a quick look at Ethereum, by the way, since I mentioned it. That's actually the one we're holding. Oh, wrong chart, of course. All right, let me just type it in then. Is it Ethereum? Here it is. Okay, Ethereum Usd. So Ethereum is the one we've been holding actually in Cryptonaissance because we identified it down here actually. Say down here. We actually identified it over a week ago as a stronger coin. And, that was great because it is actually still leading Bitcoin by a little bit. Let me show you the Ethereum Bitcoin cross. So it's not as obvious, right? We bought it down here and some strengthening against it, but it's slightly leading, right? Slightly leading. But this is pretty good. I mean, it might actually pick up a little bit more here very soon. Let's go back to Ethereum USD. So yeah, in its own reign right here, we had a very important inflection point at around 33,000. 32,000, I'm sorry, that wasn't it. That was around 32,000 and change, and it breached that one. So that's very important. And the next one is actually right here, around 30, I'm sorry, what am I talking about? Not 33,000, I'm used to Bitcoin. Down here, 3,250-ish, 70-ish, 50-ish. You can round it up. Down up here is the next inflection point, right? The spike high here, it's 3,400 and change. It needs to overcome that. You can see it already pulled back a little bit after kind of testing the waters. So it's kind of inching its way into it. I don't think it's going to succeed without drama because it did, 1, 2, 3. It took them out as if it's nothing. Didn't even it paused a little bit beforehand here and then boom, just blasted through all these here. Which, by the way, is from a price perspective, it's very, very bullish. I mean, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So if we close positive today, which by all indications probably will, we got 13 candles and we got 2 candles, right, since the spike low here, right? Let me switch my chat off. Somebody always wants something. So 13 candles, 2 candles. See, in terms of downside versus upside candles, bullish versus bearish candles, and very, very bullish formation here, by the way. Very bullish formation. Bear in mind, right, that and it actually, by the way, one more perception, one more thing that I want to point out. By the way, ignore these EMAs. I don't use them. We only use them for one purpose, which is to measure. We use them in the context of an Ethereum Bitcoin cross, in regards to deciding whether or not we're in Ethereum or if we're in Bitcoin. Very simple rule, that works very well. But when looking here at the Ethereum Usd, we don't care. So forget, just leave them on, because otherwise I have to rebuild my chart again later, and I'm lazy. So, but if you consider it, Ethereum, it always leads in both directions, which is something that we've kept pointing out when we talked about the system, Cryptonaissance. One aspect of a system is the recognition of such, and that Bitcoin is our gold standard, and the whole idea, the underlying premise, right, the prime directive, if you're a trekkie of the system, is to accumulate as much Bitcoin as possible. And we use different vehicles for that. Because why? Well, we can't go time travel back in time. We can't go back to 2012, 2013, whatever, or 2011 and buy Bitcoin for just $50 or $10, whatever it was. Right? I bought my first coin in 2014 for $440. Oh, I'd love to go back there. But my time machine, still broken, still in the shop. Don't know when I get it back. And in the meantime, we need to use other tricks. And one of the tricks we're using, of course, is to use other vehicles, coins that actually gain rapidly against Bitcoin. That's why we trade other altcoin crosses or Ethereum right now against Bitcoin. And that helps us to accumulate more Bitcoin over time and do it in a very rapid fashion, which, if you're looking at our profit graphs of the last year, we've done very, very effectively, despite, large corrections, 2 large corrections now. And we still would have turned 1 Bitcoin into, as of today, 11.8 Bitcoin. That's great performance. And you can't do these things anymore manually by just hodling. You have to do this with the system. So yeah, there's method to our madness, and that's kind of the approach we're taking. But coming back to this, okay, just talking about price action, man. Ethereum usually leads in both directions. It leads on the way down, it leads on the way up. And when we saw that Ethereum was breaking out against Bitcoin, so when we saw, if you go back here, the Ethereum Bitcoin cross, and so that's really our measure. That's the one I just mentioned, right? I said, okay, this is the chart we really follow when it comes to, I can zoom out a little bit and you can see the support line here that we kind of produced, right? And I was watching very intently down here, by the way. But for almost 11 weeks, we since December, we were stuck in Bitcoin mode because that was really the safest coin. Why? Because Ethereum was, by all intents and purposes, right, the weaker coin. And it, as you can tell, it tried. And, it couldn't overcome these 2 EMAs, right, the crossing EMAs. And by the way, again, I want to point out, indicators are just exactly that, an indication. It helps. It's a filter. It's a lens, right? You're viewing things. There is no magic property about these 2 EMAs. One is an 8, one is a 21. It's a lot of times it's coincidence, right? You use them effectively. A 9 and a 20 would have worked probably equally well. So just so you know, right? Don't really ever put your stock into indicators. It's just a guide. You need to have a concept behind it. But I think that it served us fairly well. We could have also used like a window, okay, and then say, okay, 20 candles back, is the current candle closing higher than the 120 back? Would be the same approach, wouldn't be different. Might actually be faster. I haven't backtested it, but I might actually. So just to give you an idea, it was the weaker coin, and when it started to take off, right, kind of circle back to the point I was trying to make here. When it took off like mid-March, right, it really took off, see? And then here, that Sunday, that was the 20th, we switched officially into Ethereum mode from Bitcoin because we had, the short one had crossed, the 8 had crossed above the 21. And so we knew, okay, it's strengthening. Let's go into Ethereum. And we've been holding it since, and, it's done very well. And that was a good sign. Why? Because normally, again, Ethereum leads Bitcoin. And actually, Ethereum season precedes altcoin season. And that's really when the rubber meets the proverbial road in terms of system performance. That's when we make the most money. The anticipation right now is the way it's going, and the way I've looked at, when I looked at the on-chain metrics that we follow, anticipation is that we have a good chance to switch into, things continue the way they are without a huge, deep, a very deep retracement, which again, I'm still anticipating. If we go back to, let me actually go back to the Bitcoin chart. So I do anticipate a retracement here. So based on that, in terms of timing, I think we would be probably somewhere, okay, let's just kind of draw it and let's see, okay? I think it's probably the smart way to do it this way. So let's say we maybe go a little bit higher. Up here takes this much, and then we go down. Maybe that takes this much time, and then we go back up. And probably by the time we're ready to, I'd say, so where does that put us? Yeah, actually that's probably almost a little bit rushed. I'd say mid-April is short amount of time. I'd say maybe by late April should be ready to switch into altcoin season. And well, if you're thinking of joining up, and if you're thinking of taking advantage of altcoin season, with or without our system, by the way, even if you're not trading our system, just know, I'm talking about Cryptonaissance here, our rules, our system. If you're not a subscriber, and if you say, okay, you know what, I don't need this dude, I don't need this guys, I can do it myself, I can pick the top performing coin. Hey, all the power to you, it's awesome. Then just know, if you're not ready yet, make sure you have an exchange set up that allows you to trade altcoins, that allows you to trade the altcoins that you need, that you have everything prepared. Because I think it's coming. It's coming in a few weeks. It might, before the end of April, we might be back in altcoin season. Woohoo! And so make sure you're prepared. And if you remember, or if you're thinking of signing up, now is a good time, because we're in Ethereum season, where you're earning, things are looking good, and yeah, you kind of, if you haven't bought your Bitcoin, you haven't bought your Ethereum, yeah, you missed the floors here. But it's better to buy it here than to buy it up here, right? Not to add to your FOMO, but that's going to be the overall what's the best word? The overarching sentiment moving forward, I think, because people are starting to realize, we missed the floor here, for whatever reason. Look into yourself, and we didn't accumulate. Now we have to wait for the retracement. So that's actually, by the way, one contributing reason why these formations that just the one that I drew here has usually high odds of resolving higher, because it's exactly what the overarching sentiment is at these points. When you see these breakouts and then they retrace, that's when people start buying. It's like they're just, okay, we're back here, I'm buying now, right? And that's when they get back in. Again, the whales, they're not going to do that. The whales are accumulated on massive amounts, and I've posted a few videos about it already over the last few months. I've made that point over and over again. You either took the advice or you didn't. It's fine. But I've showed the chart, showed the on-chain metrics even about it, that showed that the whales, all these animals, right? Bears, bulls, whales, dolphins, whatever. But the whales were accumulating big time. Right? More and more jumped into the game. There's a lot of accumulation going on, and they're not going to suffer from FOMO. They're sitting fat and happy already. It's probably retail that's really looking at this now and probably kicking itself. So, yeah, that's the overarching psychology. I can't think of a better word. Forgive me. Moving forward, and let's see what happens, right? I mean, yeah, I'd love to see it go straight up. I'd love to see it go straight up from here, but yeah, one can dream, right? I think never, one thing I keep saying to my subs and my readers is all the time is that in the financial markets, no matter what financial market, by the way, nothing moves in a straight line. It always kind of tests your mettle a little bit. And I have little doubt it'll do the same this time around. So, okay, so let's see what happens. This is great news, great formation, and great breakout. Definitely a momentum. The momentum effect has returned to the crypto market, and that's going to change the dynamics fundamentally from moving forward. So the worst thing, of course, could be we're breaking out, we stop right here, and then fall back. That would probably, let me just draw this real quick. We could be just doing something like this, and then we fail completely and just go back down here. But even then, the odds of doing something like this and then failing completely and going back down and just going into the cellar, like this, it's very low. I'd peg it right now at around maybe 10-15%. Not after all this. Not after all this. I don't think so. It had so many chances down here to resolve lower, and it did the opposite. Maybe some external event could trigger that. It's always a possibility, but I think the odds are extremely low at this point. So that's all I got. That's all I got for today. I hope it was educational and entertaining, and see you guys next time. Cheers.